Welcome to Toxicology, brought to you by Recovery Unplugged, the place where we talk about all things substance abuse, recovery, and mental health, with guests offering varying perspectives and viewpoints. Hosts Joseph Gorordo and Jason Cabello share about their addiction and recovery and other serious subject matter through lighthearted yet candid conversation.
1, 2, 3. Hey, welcome to Toxicology, the latest and greatest podcast in the history of the known universe on addiction, recovery, and mental health. I am your host, Joseph Gorordo, and with me, as always, or mostly, or usually, Mr. Jason Cabello.
Let me tell you a little something about ADHD.
Dude, we got to do it. We got to do it. We can make a little beat. We got a little bit of time.
I thought you were going to say we can make a little bit of scratch, a bit of cheddar. Let me tell you a little something about ADHD. It affects me and my family. That's a good start.
You can keep your depression, give me anxiety.
Oh, wow. Very 80s hip-hop vibes.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, do like a kind of like a Como D kind of Slick Rick kind of storytelling kind of thing.
I like it.
Yeah. You know, it could be all about like Jason getting ready to go somewhere. And like the whole process.
Make a 3-hour album to get ready to go to the gym.
Yeah. Oh man, how you doing?
I'm good.
Man, we had so we're doing this thing, y'all, where we're recording the guests before we do the intro. And that was a great. Y'all are in for a treat.
Y'all are in for a good treat.
But we'll get to that in a second. I probably got a little bit ahead of myself.
That's okay.
Yeah. How you doing? You just got back.
Good.
From a very boring work trip.
Yeah, it was a little boring.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, lots of work, lots of excess traveling.
Yeah. Traveling on private jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No biggie.
Staying at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah. Not quite.
What have you been doing, Jason?
I was on tour with Kiss doing the
like Kiss, not like
not mini Kiss.
Not mini Kiss.
So I did get to meet backstage the guy who plays Paul here when they played in Austin.
Really?
But yeah, I good friend of Andrew Sossin, DJ. He is doing the documentary on Kiss.
What's the angle for the documentary?
It's just documenting their last tour.
Yeah.
And the end of Kiss.
And like them coming to grips with like saying goodbye to all that.
Yeah. So I got to shoot a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and was...
Is the last show going to be in Detroit?
No, they already played Detroit last week. So last show was last two shows are at Madison Square Garden. Their hometown New York boys. And
I thought they were from Detroit.
No, they just have the song Detroit Rock City because they love Detroit. It was one of the first places that they got to headline at. So they, as far as I know, that's why they wrote the song. But yeah, so I've been on tour with them. And like,
is Gene Simmons' tongue really that big in person?
It is huge. Yeah. And Gene was very, very nice to me. You know, my first, so in all honesty, yeah. So talk about imposter syndrome. I know we've talked about this a lot. Yeah. So the team that's with this band, a lot of the people have been with them for decades, right? Like their road crew, and there is a couple hundred people that are employed on this tour. Yeah. And then I come in, first day, like just go shoot everything. So I'm tripping over people, getting in people's way when they're trying to get set up, almost getting crushed by some stage stuff.
Who let the new guy in here?
That's exactly what it was. And you know, me, I'm just like, fuck, I'm sorry. Like, you can't walk here. Like, fuck, sorry. You know, and I felt.
I don't even know how to walk. I'm sorry.
No, listen, I really did feel like this is intimidating. This is, but you know, I was like, you know, just show up and do the work. And in all seriousness, I did have some equipment issues because I was given amazing camera to work with, like cinema camera, all this stuff, and I've never used it before.
Were you shooting on the 80 millimeter film? Like
no film. No, we're using the red cameras, cinema cameras. So I had a little bit of difficulty with some technical stuff. I'm hoping it wasn't a huge deal, but it was, not great.
Yeah.
But I did, and I told DJ, I was like, listen, man, I'm sorry. Like, if anything I messed up, I truly apologize. But my loving partner, Gabby, was just like, Jason, like...
Did she go with you?
No. But I was talking to her yesterday after I got the call from DJ, who was looking over some of the stuff. And she was like, Jason, it was your first time using this in a very high-stress environment. Like, you made some mistakes. Like, are you going to make those mistakes again? Like, no, not if I'm not given the opportunity.
The deep wisdom of the idea that you don't have to be perfect.
Right. So, I'm internalizing it still.
Yeah.
But, I did my best, and every time I was told, like, this isn't what you do, I learned from it and tried to show up. And the team was amazing and told me that I fit right in. I did a great job coming in because, you have to be pretty thick-skinned to work with these guys. Like I said, they've been together. And my first time on the plane, I'm walking in, like...
What kind of plane?
It was a private jet.
Yeah.
I don't know what type of jet it was, but, they have their system. They've been doing this for decades. So I'm walking in, like, I don't know where to put my bags. I don't know where to sit. And Gene says, why don't you come sit here? So I sat right across from Gene on the plane, and we had a nice conversation, like a good hour and a half, my first time on the plane. So I felt very at ease. Yeah. Big opportunity, and it was incredible.
Did you do any shouting?
Shouting?
Yeah.
Shout it out loud?
And keep on shouting?
Shout it.
Is that a Kiss song?
I think so.
No, I always go for more like, you keep on shouting, you keep on shouting.
Well, yeah, they close with that.
Of course they do.
Yeah. So it was, and watching these guys like in their 70s do it, it was fucking impressive.
Yeah.
It was like Paul flies from main stage all the way across the stadium, and he's not like in a harness. He just grabs onto this rope with a ring on the bottom and just zooms across.
I'd like to see either of our most recent presidents do that.
Right.
They're also in their 70s.
That would be fun. But anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about anything that's going on with you.
No, there's nothing going on with me. We're good.
Really?
I mean, just you want me to talk about Little League baseball some more? You want me to...
How's home life? How's Joseph?
It's just pretty regular,
Okay.
We're in like
slow and steady.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That's
look during Little League baseball season, especially this year with all three of them now playing, right? Like my life is basically work,
baseball,
and baseball. Like, under normal circumstances, I bring a gym bag to work because I'm going to go hit the gym on the way home. Now it's like I've got my baseball clothes in the car.
You eating a lot of pizza?
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs,
yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
Ballpark hot dogs, man.
Well nourished.
They're so good. They're actually not bad. Like if you look at the actual macros of them, it's a little protein bomb with just a little bit of carbs.
They plump when you cook them.
Yeah. No, they don't buy those at the...
Oh, not the ballpark ones. You get the nice kosher.
But here's the thing, though. I was talking to my wife about it last night. Like, the Little League baseball is one of the only activities that, like, everyone in the family is equally invested in. We can go spend all day at the ballpark and, like, everybody's fine. Everybody enjoys themselves. We get to do it together. We come home tired and dirty.
Outside.
It's outside.
They get to
no screens. Like
spend their energy.
Nobody gets to sit in the corner with an iPad.
That's all. That's cool.
We eat ballpark food all day, and
and everybody's tuckered out when they get home.
Yeah, it's great.
It's good.
Yeah,
that's exciting to me.
It's a very special thing.
I'm glad
because with a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old in the middle of them, like finding things that we can all do together that we can all agree on is next to impossible.
Right.
So it's good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys have that.
Yeah. It's very nice. But, so today's guest is someone that...
Speaking of family...
significantly impacted both of our lives.
Absolutely.
Someone who I very much look up to for their, bravery, can-do attitude. We didn't talk about it on the show, but, a man who's been to the edge of space, been to the top of I think the Himalayas, right?
Blown up,
been to the North Pole, loves all that adventure travel stuff. The guy who puts his money where his mouth is on his values.
Very much so. And played chess with Richard Branson.
With his dirty sneakers on the table. Yeah. Man who's lived many lives.
An extraordinary many lives.
Yeah. Someone who we both have a lot of love for.
Very much so.
The founder and CEO of
not only Talksicology, but Recovery.
Recovery Unplugged. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Andrew Sossin.
Sauce Boss.
Andrew Sossin, welcome to the show.
Mr. Sossin.
Good afternoon.
Literally the man who makes it happen.
Yes. Everything.
Everything.
I think if I got actual physical paychecks, I think your signature would be on them.
I had power during what Andrew and I were together last week at the KISS show in Nashville, and he says, "You're the boss today," and I was like, "Well, give me access to payroll, please."
He also asked for his own plane, and
I said so. I just, those of you who don't know, I just got off the road with KISS, filming their documentary, and I am doing the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm with them, I'm on the A team. So I travel with them. So right when I got home, I sent Andrew a text saying things I am used to now: flying private, Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton in a pinch, cinematic cameras, and car service. So we'll see what we have to do.
Wow.
So nothing that we will be providing. When you're on a tour with rock stars, that's how it goes. And when you're doing your best to save lives, we have a different budget.
Well, when you put it like that, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I had to shoot my shot.
Hey, you don't ASK, you don't GET.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, I feel like, this is kind of long-time listener, first-time guest kind of situation. But for our viewers at home, just real quick, give us the breakdown. Who is Andrew Sossin?
Well, been a few different things in my life. Currently, I am the co-founder and CEO of Recovery Unplugged Behavioral Health. 10 years ago, last month, we started. Not what I thought I'd be doing with my life. Grateful that I am. Started Recovery Unplugged. Several family members and friends that were battling addiction in and out of the revolving door. Opened my big mouth, as I do in most situations, with a joke that it'd be cheaper for me to open up my own treatment center than to continue to pay for others.
And we've determined that is actually false.
Yeah. I've way determined that's false. But looking back, hindsight's always 20/20. Obviously, very grateful for what we've accomplished over the last decade. Positively impacting 13,000 lives with my own family members and my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and others alive and well because of what we do. So, today I'm grateful to be leading over 400 plus team members, including both of you, in our daily upward battle to help those battling both addiction and mental health. And that's what we have all chosen to do, what I've chosen to do. So today, running this organization, I'm also a dad to 3 wonderful children, married for 17 and a half years now. Doing my best to help those throughout our community and the world in some situations currently.
Yeah, and in addition to me being part of the staff that you run, I am also part of the 13,000. 13,000, excuse me, we'll edit that out. 13,000 live saves. I am one of those lives that was definitely saved by your vision, your hard work. So always thank you for that,
So typically with guests, we start at the beginning. So little known fact, Jason might not know this. Andrew Sossin, you were born in Canada.
I was born in Toronto, Canada. I lived there for a whole 6 consecutive weeks of my life. I got real sick and with meningitis. Wasn't supposed to make it originally. Lived in a sealed off room, quite sick for the first month of my life. And then after I was able to move, my parents moved here to South Florida, where I've lived for the last 44 years in Hollywood, Florida.
And if you ever hung out in Hollywood, Florida with Andrew, like Andrew's like the mayor.
Yeah.
Like you can't go anywhere without people being like, Andrew.
Yeah. Well,
we have a wonderful mayor who I happen to grow up with, and he launched his campaign in my living room. Mayor Josh Levy is a good friend of mine, and our commissioner is a good friend of mine. I promised my wife I would not run for any local office, but I am allowed and will always support those that I believe are doing the right thing for our local community and state and government for that matter. And I'm happy to be involved on the political side in those great people and great causes. But myself, I know a lot of people. I'll continue to know a lot of people, but will not be on the local politics side.
And as someone who ran an unsuccessful campaign for a local office last year,
I supported.
That you supported. I think you're on the right side of things there, Andrew. I had to promise my wife that I would not try to do that again until the kids were significantly older, because it is, woo,
yeah,
it's a lot. But so, Andrew, you have led a pretty interesting life, and I've been, fortunate enough to hear many, many Andrew Sossin stories that just one Andrew Sossin story is bonkers, and then when you put them all together, it's just like you should write a book, honestly.
Yeah.
But with this show, as much as I'd love to get into like stories of Andrew in college running weird gambling enterprises and
Amway shops,
and hanging out with famous rappers and all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure we'll get to some of that. I'd like to talk more about
poorly named energy drinks.
Oh, I don't know about that energy drink.
Okay.
But I'd like to get into some more of like what makes you you and how you got to where you are, because you're a unique individual for the treatment industry, right? Like I want to say 90% of people who work at alcohol and drug treatment are people in recovery, right? Yet you are not, but you have a heart and a passion for addicts. I've seen you in rooms with CEOs and multi-million-dollar guys walking around, and I've seen you in rooms with, people who have nothing, and you're the same guy in both rooms. So, what is it that drives you to feel so passionate about this work?
It's a combination of things. I believe that, growing up, not knowing what I know now, but I was around a lot of people that were struggling with both mental health and addiction my entire life. And so from a very, very early on, I was always just found myself wanting to help people with whatever situation it may be. And I was very fortunate when I was a teenager that my best friend Grant, his dad, when some of my friends were out wanting to, do teenage stuff, maybe drink or smoke or everything else along the way, I was listening to like motivational tapes. Now I was still hanging out with my friends, but I was going home and listening to Zig Ziglar and Les Brown and then Tony Robbins. And so Steve, Grant's dad, when I was younger, he brought me to these, at the time, were Amway seminars at Dolphins Joe Robbie Stadium. And what I learned from that at age 14 was people helping people. And all I heard over and over again was, if you wanted to be successful, help somebody else be successful. And that's not just in business, but in life. So when I was a kid, I was like, okay, I don't have anything, but I want to have a lot of things. So let me figure out how to help others. And at the time when I was younger, it was, with their own emotional well-being. and then different businesses along the way. Like you mentioned, having my own Amway store in my dorm, or the gambling stuff, or selling long distance cards, or even when we were in college, I had 24 people working for me. From we were signing people up to credit cards, we were selling T-shirts, we were doing again, for our younger audience, before we had cell phones, we had to take a prepaid phone card to call our family. So I used to drive down to Hialeah and buy thousands of phone cards, drive back up to University of Florida, Florida State, University of Central Florida. But the whole point of all of that was, in everything that I was doing from a business standpoint, everybody was dealing with something personally. So I always was trying to help others in anything that we're doing, giving them jobs, teaching them how to, work for themselves. But there was always a component of mental instability and addiction that I didn't realize at the time. And so, for me, it was, if I could help people get through the day, if I could help people, make enough money to pay their rent, one of the first things I learned, if I just give somebody money, that's going to do nothing, right? They're going to need more. So teach people how to work, teach people how to be self-sustaining. But on the mental health side, as much as I wanted to teach people, how to just get through it like I was, it required a lot more. And so I kept going deeper and deeper into learning, not traditional psychology from school, but from the, personal development world. And so it was just, for me, a natural occurrence to find myself in situations where people were suicidal, where people were just really struggling. And I figured out ways to help them get help. And this was when I was 20.
So 21. Where do you think that feeling of responsibility to help others came from?
I think it was instilled. If I just look at my environment, my parents, my grandparents, and my friend's dad, Steve, they all, in different ways, instilled the idea that, you could be selfish and be alone and maybe successful, or you could put yourself out there. And if you have the ability and the care to help others, then you should. I just, I learned that from a very early on age, whether it was, at home. My sister had severe epilepsy when we were kids, wasn't able to go to school for many years, lived at home, lived in the hospital for a year. And so just from even at home when I was, 10, 11, 12 years old, it was, there's more than you that, what you want matters, but there's more to you, in this house, in this life. And you have to go out of your way to, help our family. And then with my grandfather, learning from him, he had insurance agencies in lower income areas. And growing up, I used to go to work with him. And so at any given point in time, I mean, he would have people, he was helping people do everything. I mean, he literally was just, whatever anybody needed in the neighborhood, the community, he would help them with. And I asked him why, and he said, because it's the right thing to do. If these are people that are, coming to our business, doing business with us, it's my obligation to help them. And I didn't understand at the time, because I'm like, wait, you gave this guy or this girl and they didn't pay you back. And he said, yes, it's, money's a business, but it's people, it's their lives, it's their families. And, we have a responsibility, if we have a business, the community, to take care of the community. So I just think it was, different parts of my life where I saw people that I looked up to that were helping others that made it seem like the right thing to do for me.
So it sounds like, both growing up and even in your actions that I see from you today, right? In the last, 8 years that I've known you, you seem to have a sense of responsibility to do what you can for the people who are around you. And I've seen that even like in my own life, and my kids' lives and all that kind of stuff. So what is it? How do you take care of you, Andrew? What do you do for you?
I'm very, very fortunate. Like I said, I started very young, understanding how my mind works. And so for me, I joke, I'm not, it's not that I'm not that bright, but next week I'll be going to my 22nd Tony Robbins, UP Unleash the Power Within. And I go every year, again, not because I don't know what he's going to say, because that for me helps me be me. And it helps me remember what I already know that I may have forgotten over the year. It puts me in an environment with people that all want to do more and be more in their own way. And so for me, I set up my life so that literally on a daily basis, I listen to different things, whether it's, Tony stuff or Jack Canfield or Esther Hicks or that world, or Sean Callaghy a lot now with Unblinded, on keeping my mind just in the right mindset. And it's very difficult as a husband, as a father, as leading a business, helping the community. There's a lot of stuff every day, forgetting the last 3 weeks, it's just a tremendous amount of things going on. So I understand why people get overwhelmed. I understand why people, sometimes just can't handle. And I explain to people all the time, I'm no different than anybody else. I just learned since I was very young how to manage stress, how to limit what I focus my attention on, and do my best to focus on things that I believe will help achieve the outcome that I like. And all of that being said, it's a work in progress every single day.
So I think I have over the years absorbed some of that from you, because I've always considered myself to be a bit of a pessimist. And especially in the last year and a half of working hands-on with the teams and the facilities again, they constantly tell me Joseph, you're just much more optimistic than I am. And I'm what? I'm yeah, it's going to be fine. We're going to do great. Let's give that client another chance. I believe in him this time, And the team's always I don't think so, but okay. So you're someone who stays very busy all the time, right? I don't know when you sleep or how much you sleep, but I'm guessing it's not that much. But, I think it was 2 years ago, you had a pretty significant accident that put the brakes on a lot of that. So first, tell our audience at home about the infamous Sossin barbecue of 2021.
So, there will be barbecue jokes forever. I find them all humorous. So anybody out there, even to this day, we were just at a barbecue and somebody made a joke and they and I'm no, it's all good. I make the same jokes. In 2021, we were coming, or we thought at that point in July, we were coming out of COVID right before the Delta or Omicron. I don't remember what it was. So I texted all my friends, called up and said, hey, let's get together. Everybody, some people don't believe COVID's real. Other people know it's real. But for everybody that wants to come over, come to my house. Those that want to come inside are welcome. Those that want to stay outside, we'll have a pool. We'll have a tent. We'll have everything. So we had everybody over, and when we went to turn on the barbecue, unfortunately, there was a gas leak. My friend that went to turn on the barbecue, when he turned it on, it exploded. Me and Gabe exploded with it. Ended up in the Ryder Trauma Burn Unit at Jackson Memorial for a while, and the hospital for a bit. And it was a pretty, the most, significant experience, accident I've been in. Closest thing to death that I like to have come. I like to joke. I've done 19 firewalks prior to this at Tony Robbins seminar. I've never been hurt on a firewalk. Of the last 19 barbecues, the last one tried to kill me. So the moral, if anybody takes from this, is that firewalking with Tony Robbins is safe and barbecuing can be extremely dangerous.
I'm just going to point out, though, real quick on the barbecuing thing. Now, Texas barbecue. No gas. No gas. Low and slow, wood fire.
I mean, look, there's something to that. One of the things with that was and I did have some people that may not be as optimistic in life that may have insinuated, oh, well, look, you do all these things and you keep this great attitude and look what happened to you. And so my answer to that was quite simple, is that, bad things happen all the time to good people. It's not what happens, how you react to it. And so the fact I look at it is, had that happened a minute or two before it actually did, my son had been standing in that area. My friend's 4-year-old daughter had been standing in that area. They'd be dead if they had been up there at the time. So the way that I perceive this is that something was going to happen. Thank God it happened, to me and Gabe, because we were able to handle it. And the last, 30 years of my life, the way that I live it allowed me to recover quicker, to move forward quicker. Now I still have, nerve damage and pain every day, but it has not stopped me from living. It has not stopped me from coming to see you in Nashville last week or Austin the week before. It does, impede me from maybe wearing shoes. So I have to wear, suits and flip-flops.
Nobody looks better in a suit with flip-flops.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
What about any PTSD?
Yeah. I mean, I have. Took me a little bit after, had the nightmares. I still have had plenty of issues where, I'm a big Miami Heat fan. So in May and June of last year, they were in the playoffs and the finals.
How did that turn out for them?
The game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals was the single best game I've been to in Boston when we won, when my life was threatened, wearing a Dwayne Wade throwback jersey. That was great. The finals didn't work out as well, but right in the Miami Heat arena, right before when they announced the team, they literally set fire off. And our seats are row 13. So
lucky 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when I first started going back to games, I wouldn't even go in until after that part happened. Because every time I saw that, I literally felt myself blowing up.
Oh.
So I've been able to go get past that. And, I'm doing great on that part. I still have, here and there, certain things may occur, fireworks or, a loud boom or fire in front of me. But, one of the greatest things that was, putting the proof in what we do at Recovery Unplugged is I used everything that we teach for our clients battling addiction and mental health myself. I had, and my hands were burnt. So I had the nurse help set up playlists for me every day once I was conscious. And I had certain playlists that I listened to help me during the treatment. And then I had playlists for my nurses. So I had one nurse who loved like Enrique Iglesias and another one that loved Metallica, and like old Pearl Jam. And so, I would literally make sure that their playlists, especially, I won't get into details, but there were certain challenges when they had to clean the skin, the most painful thing you'll have in your life. But if the nurse doing it is listening to the music that makes them feel better and they're in a better mood, I A/B tested it. No music, more painful. Their music, painful but less. And so for me, it was almost comical in a positive way that I literally was like, okay, I'm stuck here. We have a method to what we do, that I helped start, but never really understood, right? I never been to recovery. And now I'm using our method on myself in the hospital when I came home, that literally helped me heal better, quicker, faster, and with less pain and less medicine. And so that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll never forget, like Rob calling me one day and he was like, Joseph, like, and you usually like Rob's voice, the way he greets you is a dead giveaway if it's a good phone call or a bad phone call, right? It's all in the way he says your name. And he's like, Andrew's in the ICU. He's got burns on, 50%, 60% of his body. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm just letting you know. And then I think it was like 3 days later, my phone rings and it's Andrew Sossin from the hospital bed. Like, hey, I'm doing all right. Keep praying for me, but everything's gonna. I was like, Jesus, Andrew. Like,
yeah, I was on vacation. Me and Gabby's family. We were in Galveston, and I was out with the kids, like feeding the seagulls outside. And she comes running out, and she was like, Andrew had an accident, and she was like, That's all I really know. And I was like, oh shit. So I went and WhatsApped Samantha, Andrew's wife, and she told me that everything was,
I will. I gotta say, I gotta give my credit, give my wife a lot of credit. As you both know, my wife, and publicly, she knows that she's had clinically diagnosed social anxiety since we were kids, and dealing with lots of people, which is funny because I love dealing with lots of people, but
you thrive on lots of people.
Is a challenge for her, and she was absolutely incredible. She literally had more conversations in a 6-week period than she had in her life. And I had so many people after that she was, following up with everybody, keeping everybody going on. I remember the day when I told her that, I'd come home and I started feeling better, and I'm like, I'll handle it from here. And she was crying. She was like, I never want to talk to anybody again. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But she was amazing with it. And she did get a little mad at me. Before Recovery Unplugged, I had a call center, I had an insurance agency. Thought the insurance agency, had it since I was 18 years old. And so I may have made some, and with Rob, you guys know Rob, and even with Marshall and Paul and everybody, I may have made some offbeat, insurance jokes about them not being able to get the key man policy on me. And, things don't look well, just, turn the switch off in the room I'm in the ICU. My wife did not appreciate any of those jokes. But yeah, it was a challenging time, but again, everybody goes through something. We know that, whatever it may be. And it's all about how you come out of it. It's all about how you react to it. And it's like, for me, it's Recovery Unplugged, and it's just everything that you have to do, right? It's why I do my best to live the way that I live, which is not, like I say, it is a challenge. I have the same challenges everybody else does every day. And I fight every day to go forward. But whether it was with my accident, whether it was with growing this organization, we've had, I will compare, I would say it was just as challenging to walk for the first time after this accident, which I wasn't able to do for weeks, and it was extremely painful, as it was to get through some of the really challenging, almost us not being here times in this industry, from a mental anguish perspective of wanting to do good, fighting to do good, fighting certain insurance companies, that may not have done what they were supposed to, but getting through those struggles and overcoming those challenges, that's the difference of success and failure in life, in business, and everything.
So you had mentioned some names.
Cigna, Blue Cross, no.
No. You had mentioned Marshall and Rob and Paul. So let's get into the origin story of Recovery Unplugged and how all the different components came together.
I've heard a lot of different versions of this story. I'm really interested.
Let's get the final version, the final boss version here.
Well, look, I think that the reason for that is, like, if you watch any good movie and, you see everything from the person who's speaking's perspective, right? And so they're all correct. I met Marshall, Marshall and I became friends at a Tony Robbins UPW Dallas seminar.
Marshall Geyser.
Marshall Geyser 22 years ago. But I really met Marshall 2 years before that, when I walked into his office to sell him insurance, or attempt to sell him insurance, and he literally tried to flick me and told me to get the F out. And then, literally threw me out of his office. That's a true story. And then we reconnected when my dad said, hey, my dad's a CBA. I have this client who's as dumb as you. Love my dad. Y'all know Bob.
Shout out Bob Sossin.
I'm his only friend on Facebook.
He said, I got a client as dumb as you going to one of these stupid seminars that you should meet. And he told me Marshall. I said, Marshall threw me out of his office. I don't want to meet this prick. Marshall was a different person a couple years later after having his first child. And we became friends. And I'm the godfather to both Alex and Sasha, both of his children. And then years later, when we had my sister-in-law and other family members that were arrested, I didn't understand for OxyContin. I didn't understand at the time. I was just angry, right? I understood that I had been lied to, stolen from, and my mother-in-law had her battles back and forth. Again, these are all people that are very public with their stories. We would never break anybody's anonymity. And they're both, doing fantastic now. But when my sister-in-law got arrested, what I was explained was that they were addicts, not criminals. And so that understanding, that comprehension, which Paul Pellinger explained to me, changed my view of everything. It really did. Because I've always helped, like I told you, since I was a kid and wanted to help. But I was pretty frustrated at that point, and so was my wife, with several family members that just were going through a revolving door.
Addicts do frustrating things.
They do.
Yes, we do.
And so, Marshall, Paul, and I got together for a lunch. I understood.
What was Marshall's background?
Marshall was a criminal defense attorney who, him and Paul had known each other, that they helped create the mental health and drug court system here in Broward County, back in the late early 90s. And so, when Marshall was helping represent the case, and, we had this conversation, Paul said, look, there is a better way. And there is this concept utilizing music as a catalyst for therapy. And I didn't get it at first. And he explained it. And I literally said, can't be any worse than anything else, and be cheaper for me to open up my own treatment center. And I literally said, if we could help my family members, we could help anybody, because they were rough. Now I met some more, I met rougher people over the years, but at the time they were the roughest I knew. And so, what came about was, this is not what I was going to do with my life. This is not what I wasn't going to, go into this. I was going to help start this, originally, but it wasn't going to be what I was going to do. And so, when we first started, and I remember the first time we met Dr. Kramer, our medical director, and he introduced us to his old college roommate, Rob. Rob literally said, first conversation, if you guys are trying to run some insurance crap in Florida, I want nothing to do with it. And I didn't even understand. I didn't even know what was going on in the industry at the time. And I said, no, I explained to him, wholeheartedly why I wanted to do this, why I wanted to help people. I wasn't focused on doing this to go make a bunch of money. Then he really got skeptical because he didn't believe that. Then he met us and we said, look, we don't have, none of us have enough money to just make this a nonprofit, but our focus is the clients come first, clients come second, and clients come third. And if we start this organization and run it like that, everything else will work out. I did say that. I was very naive when I said that. I thought that, there was other good people involved on every side of this industry, which I've learned the hard way, but that's okay. And so when we started, it was just going to be this Fort Lauderdale place, use music. And then, we weren't even called Recovery Unplugged. We were called Harmony Treatment Center. We started
terrible name,
Key to Recovery, a little music key. And then Richie Supa came about 2 months into our opening, and we sat in the conference room, and he explained what Recovery Unplugged was to him, the name that he had, and what he was doing. And by the less than an hour into that conversation, I said, we are Recovery Unplugged. What we're doing is Recovery Unplugged. We need to do this together. And within 24 hours of that, Recovery Unplugged in its current form came to fruition. And so, again, it wasn't, us trying to build this, big place. It was, let's figure out how we could utilize music and evidence-based therapy to help people. And once we were able to do that, the running joke was always, we'd have to financially hit these numbers till we move forward and growing, and never, ever, ever adhered to that. We just, once I decided that we were going to grow, we grew. And again, used goodwill, willpower, power, positive thinking, and a little delusion. And that's a fact to push us forward and believe it will all work. And with all the ups and downs, I would say that, it hasn't gone exactly or even near close to what we originally planned as we grew and the plan changed, but we're here. We're here a decade later. We're on this, toxicology right now. You're alive today, Jason. Getting to watch, I'll say it like this, with my own family, my kids being able to go to their nanas and have sleepovers. This is a person who I was just waiting to bury. I got to bring my sister-in-law who, to Israel for my son's bar mitzvah last month. And this is somebody who was banned from my family and my house for a while, a decade ago.
I thought you were going to say banned from Israel. I was like, wow.
But to go on a trip with her and where she is today and the great work that she's doing and the art that she's doing and just the lives that my own family members are living because of what we've done, I would have never thought possible. And then to watch Jason last week, he was the boss for the day. And I was sitting back there, but to know his story, to sit and talk to his mom years ago, originally, and since then, and hear the old Jason, right? Like I've seen pictures of you, Joseph, but to hear some of the old Jason stories and then to see him, with one of the most world famous rock bands ever, that he's, out there on stage, side stage, and being where he's at right now, is just a testament to what we've done here. And so there's 13,000 other stories and other people, but for me to be able to see that, it proves, in my opinion, it may not have gone the direction I wanted. It may not have done, caused a little more mental anguish. We've had definitely, peaks and valleys, but what we've done has worked. Not just, from a numbers perspective, but from a human perspective.
Absolutely. So a couple other things I want to talk about. While Recovery Unplugged and your recovery from your burns are great accomplishments, I'm sure that you'd agree with me that like your kids are some of your greatest accomplishments, right? And having met all of your children, you've raised some very intelligent, well-spoken, kind, well-traveled kids,
very down to earth too for their life experience at such a young age too.
I've heard stories of I've talked politics with your oldest, and I know that they've met politicians and hold their own in the crowd and all that kind of stuff. So, what's the secret sauce
in Sossin?
Sossin.
Yes, I grew up with lots of sauce and jokes, and sauce jokes, and I have some people that only know me as Sauce. That's pretty funny. There is no secret. I try and look at how I was raised, and my wife in taking the positives from that, not sheltering. I'll never tell anyone else how to parent because everybody's dealing with something, but I allow from very early on my kids to, make mistakes and to be around people. And so
ride their bikes through Overtown.
And I have 3 kids that are all,
I said ride their bikes through Overtown.
Okay, well that one we can talk that story. I've got some. I'm currently getting flack from that as well, but I'm proud of that. But before we get there, I have 3 children that are different. And I think it's important to treat them all differently, right? You shouldn't treat 3 different kids the same. And so I understand where my son Jacob or my son Judah or my daughter Sarah, I understand where they're at, what they're focused on, what their understanding is, what they're comfortable in and what they're not comfortable in, and the environments that I surround them in that will allow them to grow. I think it's very important today, especially for young people, to, be around adults, have conversations, age appropriate conversations. My daughter, who's 9, may not have the same political conversation as Jacob, and Judah has different interests in the world, so a whole lot of different views as well. But I also don't shelter them from the world or people. And so I also believe that because in my house, we host Rosh Hashanah and Passover in my house, the 2 big Jewish holidays. We have about 100 people, 50 different people each night that come to our house for these meals. And it's very important, the understanding that my brother-in-law is African-American. My other brother-in-law who's from Uzbekistan. One of my best friends, I was the best man at his Hindu and Jewish wedding. And my other good friend, Eric, his wife was from Tehran. And so we have at our table people from literally, it's like the League of Nations, and it's from every walk of life. And we have conversations that have an understanding of other people. So my kids from a very early age understand Christmas, Hanukkah, different people, different races and different religions that are literally part of our own family. And I think that has helped all of them interact in the world with people without having really, much challenge, no matter who you are, what you look like, right? Whether you're, my son did, we were at an event. Governor DeSantis was there, regardless of whether you like him or not.
Was he wearing the boots?
Was
he wearing the boots?
I don't remember what he was wearing, but I just know that he wasn't gonna, he was giving a speech, he was leaving. There was no time for, pictures or whatever. Now, we're not the tallest group of people, my family. And so the security was like stopping these adults from walking over. And my son just, I guess he was shorter. He didn't walk right over.
And this is Jacob, yeah?
Yeah, Jacob. This is Jacob. It's a couple years ago. He's my height now. This is a couple years ago. Walked right over and said, Governor DeSantis, I want to thank you for keeping our school safe and, for your stance on being pro-Israel. And he had a conversation with the governor, and he got people there. I wrote 6-figure checks, and who's this kid? But he felt strongly enough to want to say that and was not afraid in that environment. And the quick story, yes, a couple months ago, I was at a charity event for the United Way. My wife was visiting her aunt in Tampa area, and my son texted me and said he wanted to go to his friend's house. I texted him back, you have 2 feet in a bicycle. My son just turned 15. It's around the summertime. He responds, he lives in Miami. Now, for those of you around the country that don't know, I'm in the Hollywood area by Fort Lauderdale. This is not that close. About a 2.5-hour bike ride. So I assumed he'd respond back, can I take an Uber? He responds back, so it's okay for me to ride my bike. I said, sure. In my brain, I'm thinking he has a cell phone in 2023. It has GPS. No problem. Fast forward a couple hours, I decide to check on him. He was closer to riding his bike by Joe Robbie Stadium in Carroll City, Florida, which was not the direction of Miami Beach.
And a little rough area.
Yeah.
Little
Jason Cabello stomping ground area.
I've spent some time in Carroll City, yeah.
Right. And so I call him, text, I finally get a hold of him. He says, I think I went the wrong way. Now, I won't use all the words that I use at the moment. Again, none of us are perfect. But I was just so confused that he, how do you not know the beach is east? So what I realized He had never ridden his bike to the beach. Didn't realize that. So I said, all right, go east till you see the ocean and then go south. Fast forward another hour. Now it's like 10 something at night. I get a angry call from the other kid's dad. What's wrong with you? Why would you let your son do this? You don't know me. I don't know you. Look, I understand as a parent, right? The concern. But again, for me, I thought it was a fantastic, he made it. He was fine. He was alive. But so, the guy's like, what could have happened? I said, what? You steal his bicycle? He's got no money. Somebody do I believe somebody's just going to randomly hurt my son because he's riding his bike? Absolutely not.
And listen, you rode your bike. We've talked a lot about this. You rode your bike around like 441 and like 56th, right? So, I mean, in Hollywood.
I grew up over there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you rode your bike around a pretty rough area growing up. So, like if you have you're riding around with purpose, you're not messing with anybody. You just get to where you need to go. Some asshole might randomly come up and mess with you for no reason, but chances are you're minding your own business, just riding your bike through. They're gonna let you pass.
I was not concerned, and it's my philosophy on everything, which is, you got to learn. You learn by example. You can't learn from a book. I read a lot of books, and my son reads lots of books. But my son's also been to, 2 Tony Robbins seminars, and he's ridden his bike to Miami, and
he's been to Antarctica, the Arctic, North Pole. Yes. North Pole.
Yeah. I took him to the North Pole last year to see the Northern Lights. But and he's been, he's met the governor and the mayor, and I brought him to events, charity events, and I've also brought him to, soup kitchens, and my kids have seen that and understand that what they have, right? Most people don't, right? They go to a great school, they live in a good house, but they have to understand, all my kids from an early age, that, none of this was given to me and none of this will be given to them. And they have to learn the way the world works. So, yes, the only thing that was wrong with the whole situation, which I didn't know, was he did not have a light on his bike. And for that, we fixed. He definitely should not be riding his bike at night without a light. But other than that, you got to, the way the world is today, you got a lot of fragile young adults that, unfortunately, should have probably ridden their bike outside of their, 2-block radius, that, probably should have had to be put in other situations where they have to, speak to somebody or look at somebody in the eye or shake someone's hand or talk to an adult. And so each kid is different. Would I let my daughter do the same thing? Never. No, because I know the statistics, right? When she's 15, right? I know what could happen in that situation, unfortunately, here in South Florida, right? So not because she's a girl, just because I know actual stats, right, of situations. So for me, it's allowing my kids age appropriately to be around people, talk to people, go to different events, meet different people, ride their bike to Miami if they have to. Another quick example, my middle son, not exactly the same, but similar, went to a friend's house on his scooter. Not that far, but a little far, maybe 25 minutes. Got lost on the way home, called, crying. This was a couple of years ago. He was 11. My wife went to go pick him up. I said, absolutely not. She said, what do you mean? I said, he called us. He called us. He's got GPS on his phone. I told him to put our address in the phone and figure out how to get home. So an hour and a half later, he comes in crying, yelling, how can I do this to him? A week later, he says he wants to go to this kid's house. I said, really? He said, well, now that I know how to get there, I can get back. And it was like literally the perfect example, right, of learning. Now, would I have done that if he didn't have a GPS and I think he could, end up far away? No, but you use your common sense, you use your judgment. And in my opinion, right, in everything that we do, people have to learn. And you have to help them learn. Going back to the days when I was younger, if I just give somebody something, they won't learn. If I teach them or help them, they'll become more self-sufficient in what they do.
That was a nice circle back right there. That was good, Andrew.
So one last thing I want to touch on is what you're doing with Sheba Medical Center.
So, thank you. As most of people know, about 3.5, 4 weeks ago, there was a music festival in Israel, and there was 260 kids murdered at that music festival, over a dozen plus kidnapped. There was also 2,200 people that survived watching their friends get murdered and kidnapped. And so a couple years ago, when I've been to Israel 16 times, I went to the Sheba Medical Center. They have a psychological trauma center that uses augmented reality and virtual reality. And I wanted to learn about some of the things they're doing for PTSD, and people battling mental health and addiction there that can potentially help us. And so after this happened, my friend Jessica, that I've known since I was 2, called me and asked if we would help lead the raise to provide the psychological trauma support for the survivors of the music festival massacre and the families of those that were murdered. So we agreed to do that, and we are currently, raising money for these people that will have psychological trauma for the rest of their life. Both of you going through what you've gone through, me going through the accident I've gone through, I know that, your past is with you forever, but it can be overcome. Your challenges that you've gone through will be with you forever, but they don't define who you become. And so my goal with this is to help the people that have survived live normal, productive lives in a manner that's not going to get them, unfortunately, stuck in a loop or down a mental health challenge or addiction challenge because of what they saw. It's going to be a long road. It's not going to happen overnight, as we all know. And so this is something that, given everything else going on over there, they have the hospital, the government has resources, but they don't have enough for all of this. So this is something that I believe in, as both Bono from U2 said during his concert, and more when I was at ACL 2 weeks ago, Marcus Mumford, when him and Hosier were finishing, he said, just a week before, a group of people at a music festival, just like we were at, were murdered for no reason and it was a peace and love music festival. And they were murdered for just existing. And so, it's something that I believe in. We use music as a catalyst to help people. We believe that music can heal. I know that it does because I've used it myself. And so do we. And so I want to, help these people. We will help these people get back to a stable place in their own mental lives and be able to go to another music festival or listen to music in a positive manner again and help them. Part of what we're going to work with Sheba with is, helping them just like we do at Recovery Unplugged with addiction, is reassociate some positive triggers rather than, what they'll get from the PTSD. So that's one of the, missions that I'm personally taking on as well currently, in addition to everything else, because we can.
Yeah. Thanks for always being of service. I know that it's a big part of who you are. And just on a personal note, like besides everything with me, like there's been a few times when I've called Andrew and just like, listen, man, I have a friend. He's going to die if we don't get him help. And I think he's ready. And every time Andrew's just been like, okay, well, let's get him here.
I've worked here 8 years. Andrew's never told me no to a scholarship for somebody.
So, big thanks for what you've done for me, for what you've done for all my friends.
Listen, I will say this, and I'm sure others may agree, maybe have different reasonings or not agree, but we have the ability to save somebody's life. And if we can, we will. And that's why I do this. Yeah. If I wanted to, become a billionaire, I would not be doing this. I would have gone to do something else a while ago. This is still a business. You and the other 400 wonderful team members deserve to get paid every week. But at the end of the day, people's lives are at stake. So if somebody's calling me and it's between life and death and we can help them and we have the ability to help them, then my view is it's our obligation to help them. And I'll continue to do that as long as I'm around.
Love it. All right. Well, we're getting towards the end of the show. So that means we go to my favorite segment, Rapid Fire Question Time.
It's Rapid Fire Question Time.
I'll go first. Can I get a raise?
No.
You're up.
That was easy. Supernatural.
But I will offer you a scholarship to anybody you want. Anybody that needs help that you call me for Thanksgiving, I will approve whatever you say. Whoever's life you want to save in your honor for Thanksgiving is on me.
Okay, I'll take it.
All right.
Bet.
Cool. All right. Supernatural experience. Ever see a UFO, a Bigfoot, a ghost, anything that you can't explain?
When I was at the only thing that I think of with that is that when I went to a seminar once in Fiji and we did this 3-hour breathing meditation, no hallucinogenics, no specialties, just breathing, and a chant, and it was a Tony and a group of people. And that probably is the most, I don't know where I was. I did feel like I was in space. I did feel like, it took me to another realm, I guess you could say. That's the closest I've been to, anywhere else. And again, it was just literally through, breathing, chanting.
All right. My favorite question. Ben and Jerry's comes to you to say, Andrew, we want to make a ice cream flavor to celebrate you as a human being and all the things you've done. What do you want to call the ice cream and what ingredients shall we put in it?
Oh, anything is possible. And the ingredients?
Yeah, what's in it?
What do I like? Mint chocolate chip, waffle cone, marshmallow.
Yes. Love it.
That's pretty good. I think you got Joseph a little hungry over here.
Yeah, it's lunchtime.
All right. So since music is our medicine and your medicine, dream concert lineup, 3 bands. Who is it? Living or dead?
My favorite group ever is U2, and I'm looking forward to seeing them at Vegas next month.
Thing? Oh man,
I'm going to the Sphere. I bought tickets the day they came out. It's my cousin Beth's 50th birthday, and we're going for her birthday. So U2, I've seen U2 in America. I've seen U2 in Canada. I've seen U2 in Dublin, Ireland. So they're on there.
I sold drugs to U2 before. I'll tell you the story later. Seriously.
Well, I was at Adam Clayton's, when Music Cares honored him for 20 years clean. I was representing Recovery Unplugged at that. So that's also funny. But U2, Biggie Smalls.
Yeah.
So I got to see Biggie for a moment in 1995 in Miami. But
so before he died.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, before he died. So I would say, so I go U2, Biggie, and I just watched the movie. So I'd like to see a young Elvis.
Excellent.
That's a good one.
I didn't think of a 5th question. I'm panicking. Oh, yeah. Time travel vacation. You can time travel to any era, any place in history. Where do you go and why?
Place and time.
Any place and time in history. So
And think you could either interact or just observe.
I mean, only because of some of what I've been focused on lately, I'm gonna, not like I normally do, but I'll get a little biblical, and I would like to go back to Moses parting the Red Sea.
That's pretty epic. Yeah.
Now, would you just watch, or would you go run through the sea too?
It's Andrew. You know he'd run through.
All right, Andrew.
Mind you, I'll be wearing. I mean, do my feet work at that time?
Your feet work.
Yes. Your feet work great.
And you are able to wear a Recovery Unplugged t-shirt.
If I got a good pair of shoes on, then I'd run through. If I'm in the flip-flops and I may cut my foot open, then, I'll observe.
I feel like the Israelites did it in flip-flops.
And I think
they did have sandals, but,
and I think
Nikes would have made it a little quicker through.
Yeah, and I think if we could, handle the time travel part, we could probably handle the getting your feet fixed.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, look, when you're in my house, people think that my biocharger is a flux capacitor anyway, so.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that later. He's got
I've heard about the biocharger.
It is a contraption of all contraptions.
All right, Andrew, the last thing we do before we wrap things up is give you the floor to you can leave a final statement. You can promote whatever you want to promote. The floor is yours.
It's his anyway. He pays for all this.
Yeah, well, it's not even about that. I mean, I think that, for me, it's looking back after the last decade. Again, never would have thought that this is where we'd be. This is what I'd be doing and what we have done. So I thank both of you for helping to be part of, where we are today, because I could think of whatever we want. I could borrow as much money as I want, but without, both of you doing what you're doing, what I put on paper or a conversation I have with somebody is only words, but the actions are by, the people that work at Recovery Unplugged on a daily basis. None of this happens. None of, what we do happens if the people aren't there 24/7, 365. So my parting words would be to thank everybody that's helped us get from this concept to the 13,000 lives we've saved at this point. And what I'm excited about is now, what's going to happen going forward. Is it may have taken us a decade to help 13,000 lives, but I believe over just the next few years, through the power of our virtual program, and other things that we're going to do on the mental health side, we could help 100,000 people. And helping 100,000 people will actually help millions of lives because of their family and friends that they'll positively impact. And so, what got us here, I'm very proud of. And what got us here wouldn't have happened without you and the team. And now what's going to excite me going forward is the exponential amount of people whose lives are going to be able to positively move forward.
Yes.
Love it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're super busy, so we appreciate you being here and speaking so candidly on the show. Thank you to you, our loyal listeners, whether you're watching us on YouTube. Yeah, the loyal listeners are over here. Yeah. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, the Apple Podcasts, or any of your other favorites,
wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah, wherever you get your podcasts at.
We're there.
We're super grateful for you. Please leave a like, comment, follow, share. And as we like to say here on Talksicology, there's 1,000 ways in and 1,000 ways out. And we hope you find yours.